this is Chiwe, and today we'll be putting together a spaghetti and meatballs amigurumi. In this video, I am assuming that you have the written pattern on hand and that you have worked from the pattern to create the individual pieces. There's the meatball itself, there's the sauce in red, and then there's the plate, and then there's the noodles themselves. We will go over each piece individually, and then we'll go over how to assemble all of them together to make yourself a little plate of spaghetti and meatballs. The first and largest part of this amigurumi is the crocheted meatball. He's just a pretty simple amigurumi. He's worked continuously in the round, so there are no seams. We start with a magic circle, we end with an amigurumi close, and the eyes are placed right at the center mark of the meatball. The next part I'd like to work on is the sauce that goes on top of the meatball. I've completed a few rounds already, and I'll be working the very last round where we create sort of the irregular shape of the sauce. I've made my join in the round, and we're going to be skipping the first two stitches, which means it's the stitch that the join was made in, and then the next stitch. And then we'll be making a shell stitch here, which is 5 double crochets in one stitch. So we have 5 double crochets in one stitch, and then we're going to skip one and then slip stitch in the next. And then we're going to create a different shape. We're going to chain 3 and then work a 3 DC cluster. So we're going to start with a double crochet, but we're not going to finish the double crochet. So we have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, work another almost double crochet. So again, you don't finish, and now we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over one more time. Now we have 4 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. And then we're going to chain 3 again. Now we're going to take what we have and slip stitch into the next stitch. And this creates a slightly different shape than the shell that we made before. So following the instructions, we're going to create 2 more shells, which means we'll yarn over, skip the first stitch, then work into the second one. We'll work 5 double crochets, and then skip one, and then slip stitch into the next. We'll do that again. Skip one, work 5 double crochets into the next stitch, and then skip one and work a slip stitch into the next. Now we're going to create one more of these 3 DC clusters. So chain 3, work your 3 double crochet cluster. You should have 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, chain 3, and then slip stitch into the next stitch. Now we're going to work 2 single crochets, and then one more shell. Skip one, work 5 double crochets, skip one, and then single crochet. Okay, and this is where we're going to end because we had started right in this stitch, so we have finished the round. And it's meant to look irregular. If you'd like, you can change the order of these around. You can do one of these little clusters first and then do a shell. You can do 3 shells together. This is what fit into the number of stitches that we had in this round. And now I'm going to cut a long tail because I'm going to use this ending tail to sew this sauce onto the top of the meatball. So this tail should be about 3 times as long as the circumference of this piece. And then we're going to fasten off by pulling this long end through our loop. There you go. So this is the sauce. Because we started with a magic circle, I'm going to go ahead and also secure my magic circle. So I take my magic circle, I pull it tight, and then I insert into a loop back here, and I tie a knot. And that way my magic circle won't come apart. And for good measure, I tuck the end in to the back. Okay, so we have our sauce, we have our meatball, and then the third piece is the plate, and this is just a circle. It's worked in the round. I worked it in seamed rounds in white, whatever color you want your plate to be. I use an invisible join over here, but you don't have to do that. You can use a regular join and fasten off. And on this piece, we wanted the long tail to be at the very beginning. So you create a magic circle with a long tail at the beginning. You don't need a very long tail for the end because you're just going to fasten it in. And what's going to happen is we're going to use this tail to secure the meatball. So we're going to sew this through, sew it into the meatball, and that's how we secure the meatball to the plate. For the noodles, I'm choosing to use a sort of taupey beigey yarn. I'm going to start with a short tail. Oh, it's about 5 to 6 inches, and I'm moving to a smaller hook. This is a D 3.25 millimeter hook. And what we're going to do here is we're going to just create chains. I like creating pretty long noodles, so I don't have just a lot of little noodles hanging around. So I recommend you chain at least 60. Okay, I have made 60 chains. They're pretty tight because I didn't want to leave too many holes. And this is going to be our spaghetti noodle. So once you're done with the chain, you're going to work slip stitches into these chains. We're going to start from the second chain from the hook, and then work a slip stitch. And then in each chain, you'll work a slip stitch. We're going to work 30 of these, or about halfway through. It doesn't have to be exact, it's just about halfway through so that we have about half of the noodle on either side before we attach it to our meatball. So now we're going to take our meatball, flip it to see the bottom, and we want to attach the plate to the center right here. And we want to make it look like the meatball is nestled into a pile of spaghetti. Start in the back, just in case I don't like it. And I'm going to insert my hook into one of these stitches in between the two rounds. And then bring the hook back out. And then I'm going to take my lighter yarn that I'm working on for the noodles. I'm going to yarn over and pull that through. So the yarn is being pulled through the meatball, and then I'm going to complete my slip stitch. And that's how I connect the spaghetti noodle to the meatball. And now I've got the rest of my noodle that I still have to work slip stitches into. So I'm going to continue doing that. Okay, I've completed all of my noodles. They are now attached to the bottom of my meatball. And I'm going to take the piece that's the sauce and sew this onto the top of my meatball. It really doesn't matter how you want to do it. I like to keep the attachment in the back because in the end I'm going to be putting a knot right there, and I want to make sure that you can still see the face. And then what I'm going to do is just insert into the meatball, and this is going to provide my anchor point. And then I'm going to work up into the 2 loops, and I'm going to just do sort of a whip stitch all the way around. You can sew it on any way you like. I find that this works pretty well. And always just catch a loop. You can catch either the 2 loops of a single crochet, or you can catch sort of that vertical bar in between. Whatever works. And then up again through the red, down through the next stitch, and then into another stitch on the meatball. Okay, so I've attached the sauce to the meatball. It looks like he's got bangs. And then right here at the end, I'm going to find one more loop on the meatball, and I'm going to use it to tie a knot. I tied a knot right there at the end, and then I'm going to tuck this end into the bottom. And that pulls that knot right into the body of the meatball, so you can't see it anymore. Okay, and then we're going to cut this end, squeeze a little bit, and then the end just goes right into the body of the meatball. Okay, so now we have our meatball, we have our noodles, and it's time to attach everything to the plate. So we have the plate here. This is the front side of the crochet. This is the back side. It's up to you which side you want to use as the inside or the outside of the plate. I like to use the front of it as the inside because there's a natural curve to it. So it's not a flat plate, otherwise your plate looks like this. Okay, and I just kind of like this look where it's flat and then there's just a little bit of a rim. So right now I'm on the edge, outside edge of round 1, and I'm going to attach to the outside edge of round 1. I want to make sure that the back of my plate, which is right here, is the back of my meatball, like this. And that means, knowing that my tail is right here, then I'm going to go into this stitch, which is also the outside of round 1. And then once you've made it all the way around, you can just pull everything tight. Okay, so now that I'm here, I turn it upside down. I want to pick a point. I need to tie a knot. I tied a knot, which you can see it's right there, but that's not going to be visible once I insert my needle. And then I want to again pull it out from the back of the piece just to tuck in the ends. Okay. Now I've attached the plate to the meatball, and there is your spaghetti and meatball. I hope you liked this video, and thank you so much for watching.